Hello YouTube, Problematic Boy here. It's been a while since I made a video, but that's really whether I make videos is kind of dependent on whether I'm playing the Torchlight season or not, and I have been playing this most recent season and streaming it, and I am having quite a bit of fun. It's the Whispering Mist season, and I'm gonna do a little build overview today because I've been getting questions about the build, so I might as well just make a little thing, or make a thing, and put it on YouTube. Um, because this is the build that got me started. I made like 3 characters where I was just fucking around, trying a bunch of different stuff. Couldn't really break into 8s, and then I made this character and it was super smooth. I didn't have any special gears, very cheap. And I think in terms of the cost of the build and what you're going to be farming, it's probably pretty similar to Frost-Terra Gemma 2. This is going to be a Gemma 2 Howling Gale build. Now, Howling Gale is a skill that was released maybe 2 seasons ago. I don't actually remember, and then it got buffed, and then Gemma 2 got buffed, and then all this stuff happened. And now I think it's pretty solid. It's a very good skill mechanically. I'm gonna try to do a build overview here. It's not specifically a guide, but there are some things that you can follow if you want. I'll be posting in the pinned comment and the description. I have not filter. You probably don't want that because it's extremely strict. But if you look here in my creations, I have made 3 snapshots of my character. So what I'm trying to do is I'm naming the build, and then I'm putting the content that I'm comfortably farming, and by comfortably farming, I mean I'm not running into any snags. I'm not taking a little while to kill a rare, except maybe the one rare mod that enemies can have that's very rare, that makes them super big, and I think they're kind of invulnerable or something that I hardly ever run into. But just like the normal stuff, like any like extra rare mods that give them more life or whatever, like they just get destroyed, right? Or they get killed. So I'm putting the name and the content I'm comfortably running. This is the first one that I didn't do that and realized it would be a good idea to say what I'm doing. But this is just like, I snapshotted the character 3 times. The first one is just, I was doing 7-2 on a 6 set and a 1 mod staff. Basically, well, it was a 1 mod that, there's only 1 mod that mattered, and you can see everything that I had. You can see my talents by clicking this here, and I'll have each build code down there. And now they changed it this season so that build codes will work no matter what server you're on. So if you happen to be in EU or another server, the build codes will work. And as you can see, I have Coldnado here, and then I have the gear I was wearing when I was farming Time Mark 8.2, and I have the gear I was wearing when I was farming Time Mark 8.3, as well as Deep Space. And I'd say up until this point, so this point the gear is still fairly cheap. I'd say I don't count my FE as I spend it, so I can only ballpark it, and prices change, of course. But I'd say at this point, counting necessary gear like this, I paid like 500, 600 for this pedigree, but to do 8.3, you only really need a Focus Strike 1, and you can get as cheap as you can there. So that's probably around 20 or 30 FE for that. I'd say counting necessary gear to do the 8.3 that I was doing comfortably, or 8.3 Deep Space, whatever, it feels about the same. I was maybe doing like, it's a big ballpark range, but it's like 1 point something KFE to 3 KFE tops. Like, I didn't spend more than 3 KFE, I know that, but I definitely spent more than 1. So, so somewhere in the middle there, fairly cheap to be doing that type, and you can obviously make a lot of money doing 8.3 and farming there, so I figured people would be interested. So first things first, I'm going to do a map, and I'm just going to do a map like I would normally do it. I'm just going to roll it like I would normally roll it. Let's go to 8.3, because that's how I feel. I was doing 8.4s, and you can do 8.4s on my current gear. I am going to go over my current setup, but I just wanted to mention that I have the build snapshots for those who are interested, because I think that's a pretty useful way of setting it up. So here, there's nothing here that's really fucked up. I just usually, right now, I'm not going to go over the deck I'm running. It's just like a random out and go deck, and I won't go over the mechanics of the build quite yet. I just want to run through a map and just show, I don't know, gameplay. I'm not going to do, wait, I can do the dream because it's not going to show my thing, or take me into the nightmare, because I don't want it to be too long of a map. But, yep, everything's dying. I should probably try to pick up the loot that drops on my filter. I'll even do it faster. You could go around. Oh, wait, there's a star. As you can see, things are dying kind of off screen. So I have to rely on my filter to go pick up the items. So I do pick up these. You can go here. So you join vision, and I'm not even going to think about this. Gain all the bubbles. Sure. Oh, that's the random place on the map one. I can't believe I picked that. Whoops. Epic fail. That's going to be annoying. I might just skip it when I actually get to it when I'm playing for real. Yeah, so you can kind of see it's fairly quick. The move speed's pretty, like, a little low, but the AoE is very good. Oh, this guy lived a little bit, huh? Let's take that. Oh, so yeah, movement speed a little low, especially when there's no enemies on the screen and you can't reset your frigid transmission cooldown. That's one of the like weaker points of the build. I guess I'll do this too. Why not? I'm not gonna do cube because it still takes a little too long. No one wants to sit through that, and I want to do another map anyway where I kind of explain things a little bit more about the skill, because it might need a little bit of instruction. You'll get the hang of playing it if you do decide to do this, but I just want to go over a few important things. Ooh, 27%. Dang, yo. We're going to get it for sure. Alright, so I'm going to do one more map now where I get a little bit more explaining about things, and then I can go over my setup as it is right now. But I might let the snapshot take care of that, because there's not too much here that's different from my 8.3 snapshot. I think it's about the same. That's fine. Actually, the 90% mod is a little bit bugged sometimes, so maybe you might see some damage failings here, but that's fine, because I'll be super close and still not doing damage. But here's how the tornado works. So, I go into a map, and you kind of saw it before, is that, we're going to talk a little bit about how this is a good skill, and why it's a good skill, and so on and so on. So it has a base physical, it's a channeling skill. As you can see, the effectiveness is scaling up as I increase the spell skill level, and it scales pretty high. It's already at 410%. That's not too bad for a spell. It's actually pretty good. Base attack frequency, so let's start talking about that right away. So the tornado is going to have a base attack frequency of once a second, which isn't that good, and it starts out with a base max channel stacks of 5. Okay, so for each channel stack, it gets duration. Each channel stack, it's going to get a multiplier on its attack frequency. Each channel stack is going to give it an area increase, and each channel stack is going to increase the move speed, which isn't too important because it doesn't move on its own. It only moves when you start channeling it or continue channeling it, because it kind of is a weird skill where you channel it and then it's kind of still active, and then you channel it again and it'll move to where you're channeling. And it gains damage for every additional max channel stacks. This is a more multiplier, which having a skill with a more multiplier baked into it that also has a pretty good added damage effectiveness already is pretty good. Like this is the main reason why the skill is good. It lets you scale just max channel stacks. I have 20 max channel stacks right now. I can obviously get more with Prairie. You can probably get up, I don't know, at least 25. You can go even higher, and that's a great way to scale your damage, because you don't really need that much. And here's another thing that scales the build really well that is somehow also on this skill. It makes it even better, is that bonuses and additional bonuses to cast speed are applied to attack frequency. Now this already sounds good, but when you keep in mind that the attack frequency is getting multiplied for each channel stack, not max channel stacks, but the initial 5, and then whatever you have on top of that, it's getting a 15% multiplier on that base 1, and that is also multiplying. It seems like the cast speed, I tried it with them out, that seems to be how it's working. It's very strong. So you can look at all the other supports and stuff in the snapshot, but as you can see, the playstyle is simply, I channel up to 20 stacks, okay, I start moving, and then I'm not channeling too much when I go into things. And it's not super important to keep it at the maximum stacks. There's no extra bonus. It's just doing the top damage that it can do when it's at 20. So the most important thing is, just move it. And then you can be as lazy or non-lazy as you want. Holding down the channel button is not going to give you more damage, really. I mean, it doesn't really. It might give you a little bit more cast speed from the tree or something. But generally speaking, you're letting your explosion do much. And in terms of playstyle, I have 3 activators on my curse, my empower, and my defensive skill. And I'd say the 2 downsides of the build, playstyle-wise, are just the movement speed is a little low. There's probably some ways you can get it up. I'm trying to squeeze it in as much as possible. I even have a Dreamcraft on my amulet right now that's giving movement speed. And the resetting the cooldown. So if there's no mobs, even if I'm trying to put the tornado on the edge of the screen, I really can't dash, and the dash range is actually pretty short on this. So that's really the downsides, but the area is very good. The damage is pretty good, especially for the investment that I put into it. And as I continue to invest in it from this point, things are going to get pretty expensive. It's definitely going to go like way above 3k FE at this point, as I need to craft a staff and get other shit, you know, like the non-prototype memory and things like that. But so that's how the skill is mechanically right now. I'm not going to actually do a full overview. I'll let the snapshot take care of most of that. I think the snapshot is in the build code is pretty much what I'm wearing right now. The Coldado T83. Let's take a peek at it. It is pretty much what I'm doing. Yeah, that's my thing. I'm using that. I'm using that. Yeah, I did this last night, so it should be fine. Yeah, I think it's good. So that's the setup right now. Anything else I wanted to say about it? I mean, I'm stalling now. I have the build codes. I'm going to be farming on it today on my Twitch stream, twitch.tv/PlayStyleMelodicBoy. Any questions, feel free to post. Is there anything I'm missing here? I'm usually forgetting something. I get some instruction. Okay, let me talk generally. This is a good thing just to say for any build, is like how am I scaling the build, just in case if you are using a build code and you want to scale it more. First off, the character's name is Witch's Tit, so if you're on NA, you can only see the current state of my character by going to the hero ranking, going to Frostbite and Gemma, and then picking Tornado and scrolling on to Witch's Tit. I am 96, so I'm up there. And if you want to just know how I'm scaling the build generally, I am doing Focus Blessings. I seem to be the only person on NA ladder doing that. Focus Blessings are just good. It's not too hard to get like 13 of them, which I have right now. And with investments, I can get like 15. I might be able to get 16 somehow. I'm not sure. But 15 Focus Blessings is pretty good. It's just a lot of double damage, crit damage, added damage to cold, and the added damage effectiveness is good on the skill. So I thought, why not just add Focus Blessings in there? It seems pretty good. And then I'm scaling max channeled stacks, crit damage, and cast speed. So max channel stacks are pretty important. They're going to give you a big multiplier on your damage. You know, with this rain, you try to get a +3 max. I'm sure a +1 or +2 is extremely cheap, so you can always start with that if you want to. Even though if you have, you know, 6 set and you have 2 reins for some reason and there's 6 set and you're just starting, just use that. And then the only other thing that's scaling it is just the frostbitten stuff. So unlike other things, your best suffix is going to be that T0 additional damage against frozen enemies. You can always start with T1 and go up. I was doing 8-3 with T1 additional damage against frozen enemies and max channel stacks. Those are your 2 most important suffixes. The biggest priority is just get max channel +4 and T1 additional frozen, and that will carry you very hard for a long time. So that's the important stuff. Anything else here that I wanted to mention? I'm trying to think. I am so bad at like remembering. I kind of just you know. Well, here. Oh, there's one more important mechanic for the build. I remembered. It's how we recover. Okay, so how you recover. So when you're going an ES build this league, you have 2 options for recovery, right? Because before, you could just put in defense layers on any defense active skill, and your energy shield would start to charge, and it wouldn't be interrupted for like 3 seconds, and it would just go brrr. Well, now you can't do that anymore. You either have to use Force Start or focus on Regain. Now, Regain's kind of a weird thing, because it's usually not very good. But with this build, it is pretty good, because Regain is going to scale with a high pool of health. So what I'm doing is I am going full ES, as you can see. You don't need precise, obviously, but I am running precise. And we're doing this mechanic here. I should explain this in case people are confused by it. So let's talk about Frigid Domain, and then talk about why we're ES and why we regain. I know it's kind of like a theory video. If you don't care about that, you've already downloaded the build code and you're playing anyway, but if you're still watching, you're probably interested. So Frigid Domain is an aura that only takes effect on enemies. It does not take effect on your character, and the debuff that it applies, it says debuff, is scaled by aura effect. So what we want with Frigid Domain is as much aura effect as possible, and we can take advantage of the fact that it does not apply to us, meaning we can use one aura that does apply to us, this in this case Energy Fortress, and have both supported by this concentrated aura support that gives 125% aura effect, which is pretty massive. We're getting a lot of ES from this, we're getting a lot of damage from this, and then we can also apply things like Selfishness. I'm also using the one where I'm getting 58% aura effect when we are close-ish to a boss. 10-meter range is pretty good, honestly. Even if you're like a mid-distance away, it's still activated most of the time. And so when I'm standing here, I actually have minus 15% aura effect on my ES. You may have seen it. It's very quick because the boss dies fairly fast. But when I'm in the map, my energy shield is actually around 14k. So, and even 11k is a pretty good life pool for mapping. I mean, it's definitely serviceable for what we're doing. And it's serviceable because you need a high life pool with regain, because you regain. Now we're going to explain the regain and why we're full ES. ES obviously lets you get a high life pool. That's the advantage of it. And ES regain with a high life pool is very efficient because you're regaining 20% if you've capped your regain of your missing energy shield every time you regain, and the base amount you can do that is twice a second, and Tornado hits very fast. So if you're regaining, 20% of your missing twice a second, and you have a high pool, and let's say you take a big hit and you lose half of that, you're recovering something like, if I have a 10k pool, I lose 5k, and then my recovery per second is suddenly, let's see, 5k, it would be 1000 ES. No, 2000 ES a second, because it's 1000 per regain, right? So I'd be regaining 2000 ES per second. Obviously, there's diminishing returns on it because it's taking your current ES, and then, you're missing less as you regain more, which is one of the reasons why it's weaker, especially on low health pool builds. But when you have a high health pool, you're keeping that value for longer, and you're recovering a lot because Tornado hits really fast. Now, it's fine at 0.5. I would try to find... so you might not get my exact pedigree, right? So right now on my current version of the build, I do want to mention this. I have a bunch, which you should go for. You should always go for bunch, but you probably might not be able to get a rebirth pedigree, which is a positive. It's not a huge positive, but it gives me... it's converting some of that energy shield regain to restoration, but the most importantly, it's allowing me to regain 4 times a second instead of 2. So I'm getting double the regains per second, and my Tornado's definitely hitting it fast enough to take advantage of that. So if you don't have rebirth, it's fine. You're going to be recovering a lot instantly, but you kind of do want to get your rate. I would recommend getting your regain rate. It's fine to have it at twice a second at 0.5, but you probably would feel better getting it to like 0.35, or no, 0.33, so that it's 3 times a second, right? I don't know how much investment that takes. There's definitely, it would have to be on slates, and it might be difficult to get that there, but you could give up some damage. Giving up a focus blessing is not too bad. I here and there, you can always add the focus blessing later as you optimize, but I would recommend trying to get the interval a little bit lower. You can see for yourself. It's something you have to feel for yourself. At 5, I was mostly okay all the time. At 0.5, twice a second, I was mostly okay all the time, but you may want to get it to 0.33, and then it would feel super good. I know it would feel super good at 0.33. It definitely feels great at 0.25. Even having half of it as restoration, even having half of it as restoration feels pretty good in most cases. Although there's other times you'd want it to be instant. All right, so that's the big mechanic of the build. How we set up our auras is very important, and how we're taking advantage of this concentrated, and why we should go ES with a high health pool, even though we're not getting, the defense layers things. Here I'm just using delayed pain, because delayed pain is good when you have good recovery, and that matches with having, we have good recovery because we have a high life pool and we're using regain. I think regain has kind of a bad rap because a lot of life builds use it, and they have low life pools, and they don't have any ES on top of it. And, you're walking around with like 4k life, and then you're regaining, and even if you're regaining 20%, it doesn't feel that great. But unless your interval's super low, right? That's how you balance that out, but people don't really get that, and then they have the default interval or something, and then they're not lowering enough, and that's the whole rant that I could prolong this video by another 3 minutes about. But the fact is, if you have a high enough life pool, lowering the interval doesn't matter as much because you're regaining so much each time, and the regain is just overall more efficient. So, yeah, if you're interested, if you want to try out the build, I think it's a good choice. And you can just follow it from the build code. All right, thanks for watching. Hopefully I didn't forget anything. I don't think I did. All right, no. I'll be streaming later. Thanks for watching. Bye.